And I've just been in a real place of indecision in business in my life lately, and even on what to do the show on today, and whether we should call it indecision. It hurts, or perhaps the tragedy of indecision. Doing a lot of work with clients lately who have also been indecisive sometimes, and not blaming them or me necessarily, but that is the tragedy of not making a decision. I have a friend of mine who says you get killed at crossroads, and that is very, very true. When you stand there in the middle of a decision and don't make it, that's when you can really, really get hurt. And let me tell you what I mean by that. You know, we've had a lot of change and upheaval in our office lately, mainly because I made it. Here's where we're changing. We have Andrea Jant right now, who is doing some of our marketing. She's behind the camera. Hey, Andrea.
Hey.
Okay, and we have Taylor, who's in there in benefits. Taylor is so good in benefits, but she's transitioning, so that's created just a transition and a change for me. And we have Britton S. Begley, who's coming on, who has an LLM in tax and is an attorney, coming on with us starting Monday. That's a lot of change and upheaval. And we just finished meeting with some other associates of ours who we work with, and just indecision on what to do with them and which way to go. And you know what it really boils down to when I get this way is I always know what the right decision is. In fact, I already know what the right decision is. I'll ask this person, I'll ask this person over here, I'll ask somebody I respect, somebody I don't respect will chime in anyway, and at the end, I'm left to make the decision. And it ends up being the decision that I knew I needed to make anyway, and it was the right one. I work with clients every day who didn't make decisions and are suffering because of it. Let me tell you what I mean. And this is why the subject of today's Elder Law Report is indecision. And I hope that I can help create a sense of urgency for you to get your affairs in order. And let me tell you why. I'm just telling you exactly what I want you to do, because I promise you it will help. I see clients from time to time who have had a stroke, or had a fall in a head injury, or have slipped into senility, or suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia, and they did not put in place even the basics, which are the most important. We overlook those sometimes. General, durable power of attorney, so that a loved one or a trusted individual, a husband, a wife, can come in and do planning for you when you need to protect the home, to qualify for a benefit, whether it's a Medicaid benefit to pay for long-term care, or a veteran's benefit to pay for a veteran's pension. There are qualifications to those benefit programs that make it hard to qualify if you can't have access to bank accounts and real estate and protect those. It makes it near and nigh impossible, okay? So at some point, I imagine those clients that I meet with in those emergency situations, and I meet with a large number of clients in emergency situations, I guarantee you, every one of them had thought at different points in their lives, I need to get my affairs in order. I need to put my foundational legal planning documents in place. I need to protect my home. But for some reason, they didn't act. They talked to the neighbor. They talked to the street lawyer down the street who always knows the answers. But they didn't talk to who they needed to talk to, which was an estate planning or elder law attorney that could actually help them put those documents in place. I would urge you to not wait. I'm going to ask you, when am I going to have my stroke? When am I going to have a car accident? When am I going to have a tragic healthcare situation that makes me incapable of making my own decisions? Or, to put it a different way, I need somebody else to come in and assist. Who's going to make my healthcare decisions? Who's going to put in place things I need to take care of my kids? Who's going to take care of my wife? Who's going to take care of my family? Are my assets going to be able to be preserved? What I worked so hard for to help my grandchildren go to college? Am I going to be able to access long-term care benefits to care for me because I'm going to live for decades and I'm going to need extensive care? If I don't plan ahead, it's over before I begin to do that planning, before anybody can do it, because I've tied their hands. It is so important to recognize when you need to plan and you need to do things. Let me back it up and tell you what I would recommend. I would recommend estate planning even for a young couple, especially with children. However, where I see my clients as an elder law attorney many times is when they're transitioning, when they're looking toward retirement. Sometimes have already passed retirement. But if you're in that situation, if you have assets, if you have family, it's a good thing to sit down and figure out how to plan to protect those assets and benefit your family and benefit yourself. How do you want your legal affairs to be handled once you pass away? How do you want to care for your wife, your husband? All those things can be handled ahead of time. We use a lot of plan ahead tools like trust. Beyond foundational planning, we can help people set up trust and utilize trust. I was at a trust signing in Asheville all morning. It took all morning to do this trust signing, but I had a good time. It was a bit stressful, but it worked out just fine for the client and for us. And I was very appreciative of them. We do work from Charlotte to Asheville on a regular basis, and I don't mind getting in the car and driving to where they are or to our meeting space at Biltmore Park in Asheville. Had a good time up there visiting with them, and we put a great protective plan in place for those clients. So we draft trust, we draft foundational documents, whatever a family needs to protect their home and assets. Trust actually allow you to be decisive, to make decisions well into the future, well past your lifespan. You could set aside the farm to be held in the family so that you may have land, you may have other assets that you want your children to have, but you may fear that the daughter-in-law, the son-in-law, that you may fear that maybe those relationships, they might part ways at some point. They might come to an end, and you don't want to sacrifice splitting up the farmland or some other assets that you want to benefit your child and your grandchildren, because the knucklehead son-in-law, is going to run off and go through a divorce proceeding and split that in half. Those are things that you need to think about. And the way to do that, the way to protect against that, a lot of times is trust planning. So we do engage in foundational planning, trust planning, and a lot of other crisis planning situations for long-term care, Medicaid benefits, or veterans benefits. I would urge you to be decisive, make a decision. Some of the best things that have come from my life have been when I've made decisions. I decided to marry the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen one time. I was scared to death, but now we have 6 wonderful children, and we've been married for close to 20 years now. It'll be 20 years next year. Making that decision was great. I'll tell you, the biggest place in my life where making decisions and not waiting has benefited me, besides that, okay, probably the most important decision, was in the legal practice that I have. Do you know how hard it was for me to cut out other areas of law? You're looking at someone who absolutely loves to try a jury trial. I love to put 12 people in a box and try a case. Love, love, love it, okay? Probably nothing I can think of that brought me more joy than that, okay? And that I loved. But, we used to handle divorce cases, we used to handle, custody battles, we used to handle personal injury, criminal cases, speeding tickets, and estate planning and elder law issues. But it became too big, it became too much. When I made the decision, and I call it the X factor, okay? This is my concept. I'm going to write a book about it one day. And it works this way. the best decision Andrea ever made was to take this job and be our marketing director. Because when you're over here on this side of the X before the decision, you have all these possibilities. You don't want to think about doing a will. You don't want to think about doing a trust because that causes you to think about death. That causes you to think about the bad things. You don't want to acknowledge that that's coming, okay? But when you're at the point in the X, right here, that's when you make that decision. After that is where all the good things come. For me, when I cut off all the other areas of law and just focused on that one area of elder law, then all these other, my other practice areas grew because I learned how to do Medicaid crisis planning. And I found that I really loved that and was really good at that long-term care planning. And then adding in the veterans benefit, which when you look at your life backwards makes absolute sense because I'm a veteran and I'm an attorney. So now I'm a certified attorney through the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, and we help veterans with benefits. And then we add in, estate planning, which we did anyway, and we help people plan ahead with wills, trusts. And then we have estates and probate. And I was able to work with one of my idols, literally, at the courthouse, which is Diane Thackerson, the former clerk of court, who now is our probate director. So now we have a fully, slammed probate department. We love probate. So all those things came out of me deciding to cut out all the areas over here on this side of the X. And it was all because I made that one decision to focus. And after that, everything expands from there. I guarantee you'll see the same in your life if you make a decision for anything that you've been indecisive about. Estate planning is no different. When you make that decision to say, this is what we want to do to protect our assets. This is what we want to do with our money when we pass away. This is how we want to help our family, because you're over here. Once you focus and you make that decision, then everything else is going to expand out from there. Your family, your grandkids could thrive, because they're going to have money to go to college. They're going to have it a little bit easier. You don't want to have them too easy. I have one in college too, and I don't want her to be a spoiled brat. But I do want to help him out and make it a little easier for him than it was for me. Although, struggle makes you strong, and I can absolutely talk for hours about that, because that's very true. But I would urge you to make a decision. Get to that point in the X. Go from over here to the good side over here, where you know that you have peace of mind, things are taken care of. If you're husband and wife, you're taking care of each other, and you're not sacrificing all your hard work. Because I'll tell you what, on this side of the X, before you made that decision, there was a whole lifetime, I guarantee you, of working and saving and struggling and paying off the house. You only have to pay for it for 30 years, right? At least. And then, all your retirement, and then all of a sudden, if you hadn't made that decision as to how you're going to distribute that, save that, then it puts you and your family in a very, very tough position. So I would urge you to utilize my decision-making knowledge, which is the X factor, okay? Something that I've found to be extremely beneficial and proven in my life to work. Make that decision. Get your affairs in order. I'd rather see you on the plan ahead side, helping you plan ahead to save your hard-earned money and property, than on the emergency planning side, where we're trying to figure out if there's anything we can do. Okay? Hey, it's been fun, and I've been Greg McIntyre. I'm Greg McIntyre, the elder law guy, helping seniors protect their assets and legacies. And thank you so much for being with us today on the Elder Law Report. We will be with Sarah Callahan Dixon next week in Gastonia, who operates the Gastonia branch of Helping Hands, okay? And that's a home health care agency. Can't wait to see you. Sarah, always have a good time hanging out, and we'll be hanging out talking to Sarah about how to engage a home health care agent. How does it differ from nursing home care? How does it differ from assisted living care? How do you pay for it? And how can you make that happen for your family and in your life if you need it? So tune in next Friday at 10 o'clock on Facebook and many other forms of social media, and sign up for our e-newsletter if you would like to receive this type of content on a regular basis and stay up to date on changes in the law, mcelderlaw.com. Go there, sign up for our e-newsletter, and you'll receive this video and others directly to your inbox. Thank you, Andrea, for coming on board this week, and thank you for filming. Okay? See you next week.
Please don't wait till it's too late. Call McIntyre Elder Law.